Good morning. Hello, hello, hello. Good morning. Hope all is well. I hope all is well this morning. I hope all is well this morning. Everybody okay? Come on in. Okay? Just come on in. Come on. Listen, I get it. Trust me. If this title moved you, then you're definitely here for a reason, right? Come on in. Come on in. And if you're not currently going through this, then listen, I know you probably already had your own series of experiences where things in your love affair is off. It isn't feeling very much the same as it did in the beginning. I get it. Trust me, I understand. Come on in. For those of you who don't know, I am Coach Carla Nicole. I have created um, a new understanding for those of us that have had relationships or has even dealt with some very colorful things in the past. Good morning. That it feels like, what is this? What is really going on with the you and me? I'm just trying to figure things out so that I can feel more understanding and more compassionate for what's not going on with us. Can we do that? Can we make this simple and easy? And a lot of times we can't because we don't even know what's going on. All we know is everything feels different. It used to be a certain way and now it's changed. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Be sure to subscribe to my channel because I will be going a lot more deeper into this, not just here on YouTube, but also on my Patreon. If you're not a member on my Patreon, please get a membership. It's under Carla Nicole, just all one word. And then I also have a Substack, which is under SoulEclipse. So just go over there and join, and also make sure to share this video, because if you are here, then I'm sure you realize that others are also dealing with this. So good morning. Good morning. I'm so glad you're here. Make sure to subscribe, and once you do subscribe, don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you get notified when I go live. I don't know what's going on here. It's just doing the most. Okay, so yes. So make sure to, like I said, join on my Patreon. It's under Carla Nicole. Join on my Substack. It's under SoulEclipse. And become a member, because I understand that this is a challenge and it's not easy to deal with. So I'm helping to guide you through what is going on in your love affair, to the point where you're confused, you're frustrated, you can't seem to get comfortable in it because everything is all over the place. And it's like, I don't know if I'm coming or going. I don't know if it's me. I don't know if it's him. I don't know if it's the weather. I don't know what's going on. So I just want to get some clarity. So welcome. Come on in, sit down, have your tea, because I'm having mine, and let's talk about some things, okay? Feel free to comment as long as you keep it very, respectful. And let's get into this. So first of all, I've created it's going to be like a series of understanding what our love affairs go through, and I like to call what we grow through in our relationships. The name of this is the SoulEclipse relationship insight, and because we're trying to understand it, This helps us to gauge the differences that we will transform into, not just inside the relationship, but also inside of ourselves. When we come into a love affair, we are who we are in that present time and space, but we do evolve, we do change, and we do have revelations, evolutions, and all kinds of things that happen. So, in those transformations, of course, they transfer into the relationship. And when we're unsure about our own transformations, which is, of course, the number one focus we should be on, but a lot of times we're so focused on our lover and what they got going on, we forget about self. But that's neither here nor there. At this point, we're not talking about that, but I did want to put that out. So I'm helping you to see, at the end of the day, we will have our time where we will feel uncomfortable in our love affair. And it is not, let me make this clear, it is not abnormal. It is and will be coming. If you haven't, you already know that. So that's why you're here. But understand that there's still not, I don't like to say the word hope in what you have going on. I just like to say there's clarity on what you have going on, because hope is not necessarily the greatest thing to hold on to when you're dealing with something in the here and now. And oftentimes we are so overwhelmed by the change, by the inconsistency, by the confusion, that we're not really sure how we even got here. So let me just say, this is why I always say, when everything is on the up and up, everything is beautiful, everything is wonderful in love affairs, nobody comes to coaching. They don't come then. I don't get people showing up, hey, I need a coach, my love affair is amazing. I don't get anything. I don't get called, I don't get checked in on, I don't get told nothing, because everything is what? In the positive, right? I get when everything is a mess. That's when people call me, inbox me, text me, Facebook Messenger me. Then all of a sudden they're looking for me, because, of course, they aren't realizing that no matter how beautiful, how amazing, how compatible you are in your love affair, yeah, that doesn't matter. You are going to go through some soul eclipse. It's inevitable. You are going to go through them. So I want to touch on three things today. First, I want to talk about, the number one thing is, I want to talk about, you're not crazy. Something is off. So this is what I want to discuss. You're not crazy. Yes, you're correct. Something is off. The reason I say that it's important that I talk about this is because a lot of times we're like, is it me, or what is this? Why do I feel off? No, you're not crazy. First of all, you have to know and notice in yourself that I'm feeling internally, there's certain signals that's going on inside of you that's saying, I don't feel the same. Something is different. Do not ignore it. Because let me explain something to you. Soul eclipse, they don't come oftentimes in an abrupted type of way. They usually come gradually. And the more aware you are with understanding that, the better you will prepare yourself when you go through, or should I say grow through, a soul eclipse. So most people feel a shift, and they don't even explain it, because they, first of all, are trying to understand it. So let me explain how some of the little key things that you notice first. Okay? The conversations start to feel different. So what that means is, when you are normally in a good standing in your affair, in your love affair, you usually have a flow. So you're flowing, you're conversing, you're talking, and everything is kind of synced so we don't have this back and forth. But now you're noticing that they're more short, and you're like, what is that about? Why am I not getting a full version of what that you're here with me? What is all of this, even it could be short, snappy little comments, or it could be you feel like you have to keep repeating yourself in the conversation. And normally inside your relationship, you flow. So you're talking and each other's kind of flowing, and you don't have that. So now all of a sudden you're getting these little sarcastic comments, or you're noticing that there's a snap, there's a quick tempered positioning going on. And in all of these little key things, you'll even notice key phrases where they're trying to like ridicule you or any little shortcoming going on. You'll start to realize, you know what, in this affair we're having, we don't normally have this. I don't know what this is about. The warmth changes. So the warmth, when you come in, when you greet each other, it's more standoffish, or it's non-existent. You're not feeling like a welcoming. Normally, when you're in a good flow in the love affair, there's a welcoming. I'm so glad you're here. Let me take your coat, or let me give you a hug, or hey, babe, or something. And then all of a sudden, they come in the door and you're like, where's the PDA at? Where's the affection? I'm not feeling anything here. Hey, and then they just walk off and you're like, what's up with that? That's not normal. That's not something that you usually do. Well, hold on. And then last but not least, the connection, it feels harder to reach. So what I mean by that is sometimes when we're in a love affair, we can just, we don't feel abandoned, our soul abandonment, because we're just always in a flow. So we have that safety net. We have that continuous, I would say, flow, that we have someone that we can trust. But now when we're trying to get a hold to them, they're not answering. Or even when we're asking them a question, they're not responding. We're like, what is going on? And see, right when these little subtle things start happening, we automatically assume that this love affair must be over, because we never had this. So obviously you have someone else you're entertaining, or you got something on your mind way beyond that's more important than me. And then we start taking on this identity of, I'm feeling away, because now you seem to be all about yourself, or you just seem standoffish, or are you talking to such and such at the job, or what's going on? Like, why all of a sudden are you acting funny? And at first we start getting, we're taking things personally. And many people, some of us will turn around and we'll just start to go into a panic. So now, oh my God, I have to get all in their face and see what's going on. So now you're rushing to their aid, so to speak. What's wrong? Why aren't you talking to me? What's going on? Why aren't you answering? Why aren't you this? Why aren't you that? So you're all in their face. Now you're here and you're just trying to figure things out. And I don't want to feel neglect. What's going on? So now you're almost doing a what we would call interrogation. Basically, you're interrogating them to ask them what's going on. I want to know. I want to know. I want to know. Or the other thing is, what you'll do is you will assume, like I said earlier, you'll assume, well, there's somebody else, or you're preoccupied with something that is against the rules of our love affair, or whatever. You got all kinds of things going on in your mind, and it's just going like a loop. So now you're overthinking. Well, there's a daunting phase now where your awareness does not automatically mean that it's an ending. I'm going to say that again. In the daunting phase, awareness does not automatically mean we are coming to an end. Okay? Sometimes, and we can all be honest, sometimes in love affairs, we will find ourselves jumping the gun. making assumptions, thinking things because of past things that we went through that we didn't figure out or even look into to try to heal, but that pain and that abandonment issue or those things that happen are still here. Because although that has now passed, our body still keeps score. So now we're figuring, oh no, see, the last time I dealt with this, my ex did this, my ex did that, my ex, wait a minute. Uh-oh. I got to think about this now. I presumed in the past things were over. So I started packing my bags and packing my stuff and packing up like it's over without really knowing if it was over or if it was just a phase. So now I've got to come into my mind and think, ooh, I might have jumped the gun. Not because I meant to, but I came to a point of feeling like this is over. So because I thought this was over, I didn't know. And that's okay. You didn't know. And a lot of us don't know. This is why I created the SoulEclipse, because I think it's important that we have some type of understanding when we go through these phases, when it's time to not ignore what we're seeing, but how do we handle what we see? How do we respond? How do we react? And how do we resolve? Okay? So I have a spectrum called that. Those are the 3 R's. How do we resolve? How do we react? How do we respond? And how do we resolve? That's very important. And in the daunting phase of the SoulEclipse, this phase right here is very overwhelming, because it is the phase where there's subtle changes, but in the subtlety of the changes, they're enormous because they just shock the flow of how the relationship goes. But yet no one tells us about these subtle changes, because a lot of times nobody even thinks that these subtle changes can cause for major damage or can cause for an actual disconnection of the union completely. And this can help to cause a relationship to end just from having this misunderstanding of this may just be a phase. So now sometimes it could be, let me give you a list, and you're free to, get your pen and pencil and write some of these down, because this will help you. I'm gifting my viewers today something that you can use. You can actually use what I'm giving you right now. You can use this and actually apply it to your life. That's what kind of coach I am. I don't just get on here just to talk. I actually give you things that you can use today, not tomorrow. When you get off of here, you can use it and be like, oh, I got that tool now I can use. Yes, that's what I'm gifting you. Okay, so 1, you have to pay attention that it is unresolved distance. Unresolved distance means not always in proximity. Sometimes the person may be dealing with some things internally or even mentally, emotionally, that you are not aware of. And it could also mean physical distance between the two of you. So when you have those unresolved distances, you now have to fill in time with their absence. And oftentimes, rather than filling in the time with absence and focusing on how to improve, doing self things and growing and focusing on what you can do to improve and impact the planet, a lot of times you're thinking in your mind of every possible thing they're doing that is against the flow of your love affair. So you become very assumptive, or you start to get very, very guarded and feeling away, or you want to get suffocating and now you want to call every minute and see what's going on. These are why I'm saying this is important. Second, it could be sacred static. Sacred static is something that we don't really acknowledge. It's a static where, if you can remember, way back in the day, we used to have TVs that had antennas. They were big, long metal antennas, and we would do this to get the focus into the TV screen so we could see the TV better. And it would just be when we would be in between channels, or it could be rain, it could be anything. And we didn't know, why is this channel not as clear? That's what I mean. You're not having a clarity between the two of you. That's a sacred static. That means energetically and emotionally and psychologically, we have a static here where I can't hear you, you can't hear me. Imagine sometimes you're on the phone and you're talking, and then all of a sudden they get muffled, or it sounds kind of quirky. You're like, I can't hear what you're saying. That's what I mean. When you're in a full time with this lover, now you're having the sacred static. Now the static is really pertinent in this love affair. And the static could be something that you're going through from a past mourning that you didn't complete properly. It could be a past love affair that you are allowing to resurrect in your soul and spirit. So because of that resurrection, all the pain and the past is still there. I told you, your body keeps count. So now you have that still going on. That's a static. And in that static, you're feeling away. You're feeling confusion. You're feeling uncomfortable. But the static is there. Because of that static, it's hard to reach each other. Soul strain. Soul strain is very big because we have stresses. Oftentimes when we talk about relationships, we forget that there's an autonomy in love affairs. There's a you, there's a he, and there's a you and he. Or there's a you, there's a her, and there's a you and her. But what we oftentimes forget, once we build the identity that I'm such and such's wife, or I'm such and such's girl, or I'm such and such's dude, or whatever, once we identify in that identity, we start to lose focus on who we are in our autonomy, alone in ourself. And because we don't keep focus on that, what we end up doing is we have our own things that we deal with internally that our lover may or may not know about. But those different things and strains and those different hurts and past things still impact us. I said the body keeps score. So that's still here, regardless of if we're together or not. So because of that, we have to sit down in that and be like, oh, you know what? I do still have some things that I deal with personally. That's a soul strain. And in that soul strain, we have a tendency to try to figure things out inwardly. I always say, if you don't have insight, looking inward, paying attention to you, you won't have any foresight to know where you're going, know what your plans are, even have an idea of what you're trying to get to. That's why it's important and vital that you pay attention to your internal self, your autonomy. And sometimes when we have our own personal things we're dealing with, it's causing a soul strain. And sometimes it could be one, it could be both. I don't know. But sometimes this is hugely a reason why we're going through, or should I say we're growing through a soul daunting phase. We neglected the connection. Let me sip on that one. We neglected our connection. Oh, you don't think that can't happen? We have to stay focused beyond just being in a love affair or being together. We have to stay focused on how we create ways to stay aligned. How do we continue to build our relationship with each other? How do we stay less out of touch? Well, we do that by sitting back and saying, well, wait a minute. I haven't really stayed abreast on the fact that with life's busyness, I have to go back and check in and make sure you're good, I'm good, we're good. And then check in on each other. Well, how are you? Have uncomfortable conversations. We're not doing that because it's uncomfortable. So we just say, oh, I'm not going to do all that. That's a part of your soul and your connection maintenance. When you neglect it, you don't know each other. You start to lose sight on what each other has going on. And that is a huge reason why sometimes relationships detach. Now, two people are silently drifting without even realizing it. So how does that happen? Sometimes from soul busyness, sometimes with, becoming, we have roles in our love affairs. So when we have roles, we oftentimes don't realize that certain roles sometimes will be more of a primary role that we're spending more time in staying focused on. For instance, depending upon when you are in a love affair or together with someone, depending on that time, we often will have a different role. For instance, I'm a grandmother. So if my grandmothering role is primary, my mother role, my lover role, my business entrepreneurial role may take a back seat because I'm grandmothering. And in that grandmothering role, I might be doing a lot of watering, clipping, maintenance, making sure everything is good with my grandson and doing everything for him. And all my other, responsibilities in this soul that I'm in might take a back seat. Does that mean I love my other roles any less? No, but this one is more primarily being dealt with, more focused on. And so we might have that happen, and we might have a resurgence of certain roles that we play in and not realize that we haven't really been lovers in a while. We haven't checked in. We haven't made sure each other is good for real. And because of that, we're just in this relationship. Yes, we're claiming it, but what we're not paying attention to is that, wait a minute, are we maintaining it? And if we're getting out of it, very little, because we're focusing more on the other relationships, then that is impacting the relationship a lot. So again, the relationship may not be over, but it is asking for attention. So in this daunting phase, you can't just act like, well, it's no big deal. It is. Why are these things happening? And in questioning that, you want to sit back and say, okay, I didn't realize that I haven't been really myself. I didn't realize I haven't really been taking care of certain things. I haven't realized that this unresolved distance between us has really impacted our closeness. I didn't realize that. Well, you're in a soul eclipse now. So now this is the time to start to pay attention. Okay, in this eclipse, I need to get silent. I need to pay attention. And I need to see which one of those things needs to be addressed. Now, remember I said distance. Distance does not always mean that it's a disconnection and it's permanent. For instance, sometimes disconnection is to your advantage, because at times in love affairs, especially when you're in a long-term relationship, there will be times when you are physically apart, or you may be apart just from, different obligations and things of that nature. That doesn't mean it's over. It just means it's in that time and space, there is a disconnection, but it doesn't mean it's permanent. So many people that's in a relationship accidentally worsen the daunting phase because they fear it's over. They're terrified that the other lover is going to withdraw. They're going to pull out of the love affair. And this, my love, is one, it just makes everything worse. What happens? We begin to get quieter. Or your lover stops doing all that talking. Or the other becomes more frustrated because this is not acceptable. In this daunting phase, we don't understand it to be acceptable that there's no conversation we're not having. I get it, but this is why in the daunting phase, this is how we accidentally make a mess out of something that's just in a phase. Your affection weakens, so that means you don't touch me. Why are you doing that? They'll go in your hair, you'll be like, stop, I just did it. Little things, they don't have to be big, little tiny things. Stop touching me. This can weaken the connection. This can cause a daunting phase to last longer. It can cause a daunting phase to push you into a self-sabotaging space that you are creating a disconnect prematurely, and you shouldn't. And this is also sometimes a situation where you're feeling like, I don't feel amazing. I don't feel good about this. And I understand that, but a lot of times we become way too abrupt with our quick decisions on a phase you don't know is just a phase. You don't give it any type of grace, if you know what I mean. Now, your pride grows. So when we get prideful, we start to figuring like, well, I have other options. I don't have to put up with this. I have a lot of other men that want to be with me, and you probably do. Or I ain't got to deal with this. I got all these other chicks hollering at me, and you probably do. But even with all of your options, it doesn't matter. You can leave this relationship and go into another relationship, and I'm telling you now, there's no way around not dealing with a soul eclipse. You are going to have them. Mr. and Mrs. Options you got. I get it. Yeah. We all have it. I know. But that doesn't mean that the grass is greener. So we got to give up all the pride that we have, because I'm prideful. I can have this and I can have that. Well, sure, you can. But that doesn't mean it's better. It just means it's different. So again, behold of getting too beside yourself, if you know what I mean. I do have a book called She's Beside Herself. You might want to pick that up. Anyway, so instead of restoring the connection, you start to get to the point where both of you lovers are trying to protect yourself from disappointment. So when we get to the point where we're trying to avoid disappointment, disappointment comes no less. And now you're like, I don't know how we got here. Well, because you tried to avoid it. You tried to avoid being disappointed, and it's unfortunately, it's what it is. So that's why, again, you're feeling no way. You're feeling very, frustrated. And I get it, but I'm just telling you, that's the reason that you're coming to that conclusion. Now, I want you to think about something. The way that you can improve this is 4 very simple ways. 4 simple ways. And again, we don't think things are simple when things we're going through seems difficult. But they are. They're very simple, very easy. We just have to be able to come to terms with not thinking we're wrong or thinking that what we're feeling isn't right. Just hear me out. So, 1, your relationship can recover when honesty returns. Not honesty to your lover, honesty to yourself. Honesty returns. Hey, babe, I'm not feeling that we're close. And I'm noticing that inside me, I'm pulling back on when you touch my hair. And I apologize about that. There's no reason for that. I don't know what's going on with me, but being touchy-feely at this time, I just felt like it was just not feeling right, as an example. 2, gentleness returns. Gentleness means I'm welcoming, I'm softer, even how I speak to you, even in your outrage or your outburst or your snappiness or sarcasm. I don't meet with it. I let you finish. And then I say, hey, we are not going down this road together. So if you're going to be snappy, that's not going to work with me. So let's dial that back. And what were you saying again? But can you say it in a more tactful way? Because I'm not going to tolerate it. Again, you don't have to do all that yelling back and forth. You don't have to be nasty to each other. You can do this in a way where you're very classy, very simple, and very clear. When you do that, the gentleness will teach the other outraged to be more softer, because it gets very frustrating when someone is trying to all in your face and you're like, I don't want this. I want us to be gentle with each other. Can we change that? And 9 times out of 10, if they're literally listening to what you're saying, they'll dial that back. Next, awareness returns. Your awareness. You have to be willing to be aware. What is going on? And in my awareness, let me dial back in opinions. Let me dial back trying to come up with assumptions, and let me review, be observant, pay attention. And once I do that, not from a judgy space. So you're not sitting here judging what the other person's doing, but observing, well, what is different? Not just with the lover going off or acting different, but how are you responding to these? Are you a part of why the soul eclipse is more daunting? That's what you want to ask yourself. Am I a part of this eclipse just getting more and more daunting, rather than holding back, being abruptive, and sitting back and saying, okay, my awareness is now here because now I'm seeing that, oh, I am contributing to why this is getting more daunting in our love affair. And then intentional correction, like I just mentioned. Having a provisional thing in place now will help you to not feel so out of sorts. Because when we do start to see the sarcasm, we'll be like, okay, so you're starting with your sarcasm or whatever. Let's dial that back and let's not do that. Can we just talk regular? Do we have to have a sarcasm? Changing it up will change the way that they even recognize in themselves that they are being that. Because maybe they don't recognize it. They're just coming off and spewing off, and they may not consciously be thinking it. They're just saying it, and they're saying it not knowing that you're receiving it in a sarcastic way. So again, we have to be mindful. Oh, let me make sure that I'm getting beyond so quick to temper, and let me be more aware of the fact that, oh, this is just something that we're going through, so we can grow. Now, 2 people can feel that once they get more intentional. It just takes a while for us to get to this when 2 people ignore it. So a soul eclipse will be worsened when we both ignore that it's here. You don't want to do that. You don't want to use that as, I'll just act like it's not here because I want to hope to God that it'll just go away. No, you have to make changes. And those 4 that I gave you will help you tremendously by becoming more gentle, becoming more honest, becoming more aware, and more intentional with correction. That will help so much. And again, not every dim season means that the light is gone. When a solar eclipse is in that the moon is going through, it doesn't necessarily mean that the moon is gone. It means the moon is going through a phase. A lot of times in love affairs, we forget how important it is to invite change, invite, differences. We don't have to be clones to each other in a relationship. Let's just be okay with the changes. Let's get beyond that. And now we're coming to a closing on how actually the daunting phase can be a turning point. So I understand it's very difficult. It's very challenging when you're going through a daunting phase, that you'll just want to pull out. But some of us in a long-term love affair that have been in it over a decade or whatever, sometimes 2 decades, we start to realize that when the daunting phase comes, we make fun of it, we laugh more, we go more places, we come up with a way to notice it quicker from our awareness. So once we start noticing, oh, this is what this is. We got this solar eclipse coming, so what are we going to do? We invite it. We invite the daunting phase. And you don't invite it like, I want to go through something miserable. No, you're inviting it so you can be sharper on how to resolve it, to shorten the phase time. It's coming regardless, ready or not. But if you can come up with a plan to allow the evolution of it to not be so stressful, so going through this drudgery, you can come to a point where it's just like, well, actually we can flow better. We can have a more vibrant solar eclipse by being aware that it's here, and yet not feeling a way about it, but feeling more comfortable with it because you expect it. You know, in this love affair, we're going to have phases going through it. We're not in what you call fantasy, that this is never going to happen to us. It's never going to hit our home. It is. It's never going to hit our love affair. It is. Regardless of how, like I said, how beautiful, amazing it is. It doesn't matter. It's going to hit it. Now, the phase can either deepen your awareness. Like I said, you're paying more attention to being more alert, paying attention to your connection and how you guys are flowing. Or it can deepen avoidance, like I said earlier. If you're going to do all that today, I'm not going to be here. I'm going away. I'm good. Now, let me tell you something. The way that I just gave you two varied different ways that you can respond gives you 2 different results. And that choice changes everything. It also will cause the eclipse to last longer, or it will shorten it. So I just gave you an example. Some relationships will collapse because people pretend nothing has changed. We're just going to act like this big elephant in the middle of the room isn't here. We'll just walk around it. And in that, the intimacy just can't seem to go to the next level. It just can't. And we don't know why. Well, because you're not addressing this elephant is in the room. So you're just going to keep walking around it? Now, others become stronger because the eclipse finally forces truth. It finally forces us to say something, talk about it, converse. Also have a reflection. Remember I said about insight? Well, that means I'm looking in the mirror and paying attention to, well, how am I a contributor to this state we're in? How am I contributing to the soul eclipse being extended out farther than what I plan it to be? How do I deal and cope with this? It also helps to restore conversation, so that because the solar eclipse is daunting, if you start getting more quiet because you feel moved to get quiet because you don't want to hear the truth, then that is avoiding it. But rather than that, saying something like, hey, I noticed that we're really not connecting lately. Do you mind us just sitting down later on, just relaxing? We'll have our favorite meal and just talk about some things that we both kind of need to talk about. This isn't about, you know, badgering each other. I just want to hear how you've been. What's been on your mind? What are you dealing with? What are some of the challenges? Am I a part of your quietness? And how can I change that? How can we get back to where we were? Or if we're going to have a new version of what we're doing, let's learn how to develop it. How are we going to develop in this new version of each in this relationship? This now is going to build a fruitfulness. Okay? And then another thing is, we have to be honest with understanding that sometimes during the eclipse, the goal is not to pretend that the relationship never struggles. When we look at certain, we get caught up. I'm just going to be honest. We get caught up when we're not honest. We get caught up in seeing and being a witness to other people's love affairs, be it celebrities, be it, people we know, be it our parents, be it people that, talking and converse about their love affairs. And we start to trying to sort through what someone else is saying, what we're seeing. And we start to look at it like, oh, I want that. I want that in my love affair. I want that in my relationship. And in that, we start to pretend, because we don't want to look like our stuff is all a shambles. We want to pretend to everybody else, well, we have the perfect relationship and everything's wonderful, and it's not. But we do this because we don't want to look like we're struggling. But the truth is, we must be honest, even in the struggle. Because people have a tendency to only behold or desire to want to have a relationship because of the goodness of it. They don't want to honestly sit down and say, I want a relationship because of the challenges we go through. Because no one talks about that. No one says, oh, I had a miserable time. We went out to eat. Our food was horrible. We talked, but we weren't really connecting. I felt like he was on his phone. She was over there just yelling at the waitress about the terrible service. We had a terrible time. Get in a relationship. You'll love it. No, nobody does that. Everybody thinks about, oh, he took her here. He bought her this. He had rose petals all down the sidewalk for her to come into the house. And, we always romanticize in the mind. But the truth is, the first scenario that I explained is more real than we want to admit. But this is why we have the daunting phase so long, because a lot of times we don't understand that the real raw truth about relationships is we're not clones. We're not going to agree with everything. We're not going to be accepting of all things about someone. We're not. So we have to be more recognizable to our lover in our raw, most vulnerable, most honest state we can be in. So here's the thing in the daunting phase. Check this out. When the light between two people needs tending before the distance becomes permanent. Okay? Again, sometimes love isn't ending. Sometimes the soul is just really asking, can we finally see what we've been avoiding. Can we? I mean, if we can do this, we should be able to build a more fruitful, loving, caring love affair. I hope I helped you guys today. I was on a little longer, but I wanted to explain to you the daunting phase is not always, the prettiest, if I can be honest. It's one of the most challenging phases in a love affair. There are 8 phases that we will go through, and we will grow through together, that I'm going to explain to you each phase and how it does what it does. And then I'm going to show you the power of the phases. Just think of a solar eclipse as being a phase that has its daunting side to it, yes. But also, when that light comes through, we start to feel more closer. See, because in a solar eclipse, sometimes it abruptly comes and we're not ready. Sometimes it slowly comes and we're still not ready. But if we have a gradual understanding that in our love affairs, we're going to go through some things. We're going to challenge ourselves to become more aware. And when we do that, we end up finding, oh my God, this is amazing. Because I was able to sit tight and not get too overbearing with it, but I could sit tight and be more aware and be more in an extension of being okay without getting beside myself. Again, it's your coach, Carla Nicole. Like I said, join my Substack, become a member, $8 a month. And it is under SoulEclipse so that you can learn about it. Also, you can join my Patreon under Carla Nicole. And again, subscribe to the channel. Please don't forget to do that. Subscribe to the channel and don't forget to share this video. And also, don't forget to hit the notification bell so you'll get notified when I go live. I appreciate everyone who showed up. Have a great morning. It's your coach. You have a great day. Bye, guys.